Hey, everybody, and welcome to a very impromptu, the first episode of High Tension Wellness, the podcast with my buddy, the Maestro. Not sure which direction to point. And from the IWEP Network and collaborating with the High Tension Wrestling Podcast Network, Mr. Anthony Blackwell.
What up?
What's going on, guys? Let me start with how are you guys doing today?
I'm good. Currently, I'm not paying attention. I'm sharing the post so people can tune in and watch.
Thank you.
I just recorded my 100th episode of Interviews with Everyday People today, so I'm pretty jazzed up.
That's awesome, man. That's really
Yeah.
good news. Maestro, anything special going on in your life? Or
I mean, nothing special at the moment. I'm just exhausted, but it's put in some good hours working on something super special that hopefully everybody will be seeing soon in the next
months
or so.
Yeah, I guess like 2 months. I'm pretty excited about it too. Personally, we've got this going on. I'm pretty excited about this. I do want to give a quick rundown of what we went over in the first episode, which is kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. We talked about COVID and how that impacted us both socially, emotionally, personally, and physically, and how we either survived it or thrived through it. Then we talked a little bit about the devastation of the media and news and the fake news, and how the individual can utilize critical thinking skills and how to better learn and cultivate those skills to weed out false news and reduce stress and anxiety caused by those unfortunate things. And then we also had Ref Gina from Camp Leapfrog.
Oh, she's my new favorite.
Isn't she awesome?
No, I love her. I don't know her. I don't know her. I never met her, but just from Twitter and what I've seen at Leapfrog, she's up there. She's one of my favorite people.
Her interactions with you on Twitter is pretty much exactly how she'll be in person.
Yeah, I thought you guys legit fired her, and I was getting upset. I was like, I was messaging him like, "Why'd you fire her?" And I'm like, he's like, she's totally messing with you. I was like, oh,
she's an absolute gem. I love her.
Yeah.
She actually I guess she didn't want me to tell about that. Anyway, she gave a. I was going to talk about what she does behind the scenes of Leapfrog, but it's kayfabe.
Mm-hmm.
But she gave a demonstration on Kung Fu, which is, it's a physical activity that enriches your mind, your body, and your spirit, and elevates your emotional state as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the podcast as well. Right now, though, I do want to give a shout out to Ref Gina for giving us that demonstration. And if you want to, please go follow her at Hard Copy Foo on Twitter and Instagram. She's also on Facebook. And then I also want to give a shout out to my buddy, Derek Butler at Derek Butler Empowers. He does trauma-informed, emotional, motivational, not therapy, but like mentoring. So yeah, give him a check out. He runs the what is it? Well, he runs some stuff on Facebook. I'll drop it in the links. Victory Village. That's what it is. My brain is not firing on all cylinders today. But if we can just dive right into the first topic, guys, COVID hit us really fast and out of nowhere. When COVID hit, Andrew, I'm going to throw it over to you. What were you doing, and how did it jumping into quarantine affect you?
Well, I mean, right before it, actually the day that kind of the world stood still, which I think was like March 13th, right? At my regular job, I was actually supposed to take a field trip that day to New York City.
Oh.
And as far as we knew that week, as far as like Tuesday, Wednesday, everything was all good to go. Like there was talks about the whole COVID thing, but we didn't know how serious it was. We didn't know anything about it. Then all of a sudden Thursday, it was like, there's no way you're going. And then the next day we just didn't come back to school. You know what I mean? So it was just, it was certainly jarring and shocking from that perspective. So that was kind of like, that was sort of like the moment, you know where you were, what you were doing when that kind of thing happened. And then, there was 2 weeks where it was just kind of nothing was going on. And I really I'm one of those people who's always working on something anyway. So it was weird because I'm always working on something. And then for at least 2 weeks, I wasn't working on anything. So for a little bit, I was like, well, okay, maybe this is a nice little break. But then after, I think 2 days, I was like, nope, nope, don't like it. This isn't right. And I just started kind of going too deep into my own thoughts and those kind of things. And it was just, it was tough. It was a tough adjustment for those couple weeks, but then, once, I think you'd mentioned, we, getting creative about certain things. And I know I started doing stuff on
you started
Instagram or whatever.
Music video. You took music requests.
Yeah. I was just taking requests from people, just singing stuff. Cause what else was I going to do? I wasn't even going to So, and music for me is a big way to kind of get through anything just in general. So using that as an outlet for me to just do stuff, but then also I was trying to think of other people, cause I thought it would be something engaging for, other people to interact with. And if they wanted to hear something, or if they just wanted to listen, or whatever it was, that was kind of where my mind went after it was okay, this is a real, real big time thing. And it was, so.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I definitely remember that era. And for me, it was I was already kind of in my own little world at the time. So I didn't really know what was going on, but I just remember when everything was kind of getting crazier and crazier in those first 2 weeks, just checking in with you and checking in with everybody else, hey, what's going on in your world? What's happening? And just trying to find out what information anybody had, and where the world was, just through everybody and what was happening with them. You out of school, that, just for school to stop. I mean, that's big, Same question to Mr.
I feel like when we talk about this, when we look back on it in 10 years, or because there's kids who were born during this, you know what I mean? They don't know anything else than this. But just when you were talking about we were going to go to New York and then it happened, I just think 28 days later broke out. You know what I mean? But it was a weird thing. I was at work, and the news came across, and I remember when it first broke, it was kind of a couple days period, hey, we're gonna do the essential thing, and then that. And I remember I was at this job, and I went up to the owner of the company, and I was like, hey, I'm ready to punch out here for the day. Do we come into work tomorrow, or are we off? And he goes, I plan on being here. And I was like, but the governor just said that we're not coming to work tomorrow. So do I listen to the governor or you? And it's yeah, be here. And then we went home, and we got messages no one come back. We're shut down. So that started a whole almost a year without working for me. I went and got a new job in between there, just started up the podcast, and just really, really, really put a lot of my attention and mind into that. And that's kind of what I was doing. I don't want to go too deep into it, because I know you're going to get into the creativity, but that was pretty much what I was doing. I was at work, and it pretty much led to me having to leave that job and start another one. I ended up going back to a job I worked previously. I left this job to go to this one, and then went back to that job again. So it was a weird rebound, but it was nice because I got to clear my head and then go back to the job I really enjoyed, that I didn't leave on not great terms, but mentally I didn't leave on a good note. And it was time for me to go back and kind of bring the new me and the new attitude and try new techniques to better myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about the beginning of it. What was after the initial 2 weeks, and things just kind of started to drag on, and we still kind of a month, 2 months in, and we still kind of didn't know where we were. or where we were going or how long this was going to last. How did that like affect your like mental state? Like what did you have any like kind of like anxiety or worries or like mental like struggles or thoughts? What was that time period like for you mentally and emotionally?
I can say for me, when this first happened, I was going through some pain. I had some body pain going on. And at the time, I left, like I said before, I left jobs. I was having a lot of joint and body pain, back issues and stuff. And I thought leaving a more demanding physical job and going to a job where I sat at a desk and I was off my feet more, I thought it'd be better. And it was actually worse for me. Sitting down in a chair all day was actually way worse for my body pain than it was just being active. So towards that time, I was at a point where I was having a hard time walking. I was in a lot of pain. I had a pin sciatic. I was in a not, I was not in a good, I would be like, I'd get out of my desk and I would lay on the floor and like do yoga stretches like at work because it was so uncomfortable to sit in the chair all day. So for the first 2 weeks of that quarantine, I really took advantage of trying to get my body right and stretching and not have to worry about sitting in a chair all day. So that was kind of like the beginning of the reset for me to like, okay, if you have time to get stuff done, let's figure it out now.
Yeah, I kind of did that same thing, because I've always had like lower back pain, sciatica, like all that kind of stuff, and just kind of like in when I'd be working, I'm on my feet and I'm always on the go, or I'm always doing something. So, those 2 weeks plus, because then after that we were going virtual, so I wasn't leaving the house for months and just sitting in front of a computer for ever, and I normally don't do that. So it was actually something where I started picking up exercise, which if you knew me before this, that would be impossible because I was one to never even think about exercising in any way, shape, or form. But it was just something where I'm like, I gotta do something, and I have the time to roll with it. And then I started doing that, and I found that I actually felt better. Like it felt better to exercise. I feel much better. I wake up much better because even though I'm still not like a normal morning person, so to speak, like I'm more so of one now when I, do that kind of thing. So it was also sort of like a little restart for me as well, where, getting these different routines, because now pretty much every day I go through some kind of exercise routine just to keep myself going, because I know how I feel after that, whereas how I felt before. But it started because I had the time to dedicate and really try to like dive into it. Whereas before I would have just made the excuse, oh, I don't have the time. I'm doing all this other stuff. I don't have the time to do this. Where now it's like, oh no, you do have the time now. You're not doing anything. You don't have any late rehearsals. You don't have anything like that. It's like, when else are you going to do it? And what else are you going to do? And it's like, okay, you got me there, me. Fine. We're going to go ahead and, do this. So like, that was also something I can kind of piggyback off of, was getting a little bit of a reset or a recharge. I don't know, kind of what you want to call it.
Yeah, I would say the same, because during that same period, about a month or so in, it's like the mind and the body kind of like switched into like, oh, we're not in our normal routine. Let's change things up. Like it's almost like we were almost like it was a natural change that occurred due to the change in our situation. Because I'm also somebody wasn't really into exercise, wasn't into like, I was ready to lose weight. I'm like, just, when I stop doing this, then I'll start losing weight, or, when I can't do this anymore. And it just all of a sudden hit me that I'm like, you know what, I naturally started losing weight because my routine changed during the quarantine. And then I started to feel better, and that feeling better due to losing weight and such made me want to be more active. So I started going to the lake, socially distanced, and swimming there almost every day or every couple of days. And I'll even drop the numbers. I went from 550 pounds, which is about a horrible weight to be at, down to 480 pounds within the span of the beginning of quarantine to October, which was, I've never lost that much weight. I've never lost more than 10 pounds.
Look fantastic, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely see a huge difference.
I appreciate it.
You can also notice it too. Like I've noticed with you moving around and stuff, and you've been just more active in general. Like it definitely shows. And
I
just
appreciate that.
kind of like pep in the step, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I've had like almost like crippling back pain for the last, say, like 5 years, and it limited my mobility for years. And all of a sudden, the back pain, it's not there as much anymore. I can stand longer, I can walk longer. The only thing that still messes with me is like the arthritis in the knee, like that's still limiting me. But yeah, the back pain's virtually gone, which is amazing to me. So yeah, for me, like we all kind of have that same journey with this phase of the quarantine, which is really interesting to think about. I think right around that time, though, after maybe like 2, 3, 4 months into quarantine, is when both the maestro and myself, I feel, started to get creative. It's when we started to say, like, hey, I think we need to do something. As everybody kind of knows, we had planned a wrestling show for May, and then that got screwed up because of COVID. And then I feel like we kind of let it get us a little down, a little discouraged a little bit.
Mhm.
But then I think we decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to let this dream die. And we got creative. We made this incredible list of like all these ridiculous and creative things. And one of them stuck. And we created the Camp Leapfrog thing along with Crystal then. And it's just a testament to like surviving or thriving. We could have just survived this quarantine and wrote it out, but instead we chose to take this change in routine and do something incredible with it. I don't know if you guys can talk a little bit about what that was like for you guys.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I think, barring, like the job situation and everything like that, like, I think we are some of the more fortunate cases. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because there are some people that like just totally lost their job and they're still not back, or they're not able to be back. Like the job is just gone,
Yes.
or they've had loved ones that have come down with the the virus and everything like that. And I think it was just I think we realized, like, especially in our situation, that we realized we were fortunate where we were, so we could kind of like use this time to be creative and just try sort of off the wall things as we were kind of able to, whereas I know some people were just trying to survive. Like I know a lot of my friends in the entertainment industry, they weren't working and they're still not really getting regular gigs, and that might continue through the fall of this year. It's definitely not as lucrative as it once was. And I know one of my friends that works for an entertainment company, like they dwindled their staff down to 6 people, and this was like a national company that would do tours for, like, you name the biggest names in music, they've done stuff for, and they've had to dwindle their company down to like 6, 7 people just because jobs aren't there. And like those things were just sort of like unfortunate with the when you're saying surviving and thriving, like it's
Right.
hard. It's hard to try to thrive if you're in one of those
it's
sort of
not
situations.
it's not an option for everybody. But surviving is definitely a must, and it's not easy for everybody. And this is where we talk about the importance of community. That is my number one thing to promote, is community. We can lift each other up and we can support each other. We can help each other. I don't really necessarily want to get too much into politics or government and how they should
be into that socialism, and that's the devil.
Well, you know what, and maybe
crazy talk.
Yeah,
maybe it is, but yeah, that's why, like, I don't really necessarily want to dip into that political spectrum, because we know that they should be uplifting the community, and it's often, unfortunately, not the case.
I guess real quick, without getting political, I think the biggest thing that this pandemic taught us is not everyone who holds the keys or holds the power is going to be helping you. And it really has driven community to help each other work together. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of missed opportunities were there because we were so angry with each other because people picked political sides, where instead of coming together and getting through this pandemic, it was like, well, you're like, we were looking at the higher ups to try to help us, and they weren't. They were literally just starting more fires below to keep
Yeah.
us separated.
But that's how we've been trained to think, is like,
Exactly.
okay, what do we do now? And you look up, okay, what do we do now? And it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something we've been trained to do. So, like in speaking about community and kind of lifting each other up, what during the pandemic, what are some like incredible acts of communities coming together that you've seen? For me, right away, scream out the BLM movement is probably the most incredible act of community coming together during the pandemic. And but are there any other things that you've seen in the community, whether it be people donating to charities or making sure other people are fed? I did see on social media, some people would say like, hey, if you're struggling and if you need food, like don't be afraid to reach out and, we'll secretly bring you some food that you don't have to feel shameful or whatever. That's something I saw that was nice.
I have two I could speak on. The first one is I know this podcast network gets a lot of heat, and they say, oh, they're kind of like frat boys, but Barstool Sports,
Yes.
they have built a community, they built a network, they built reliable people, they've built people who care, and they went out and put their money where their mouth is. When they made money, they turned around and gave it back to small businesses and stuff. Like a podcast network has done more than most people have done this whole like we're still looking for a stimulus check, and then the people who are fortunate are helping others, which is good. You know what I mean? Like that's showing that you could use your creative mind state and use your voice and use your power and become that person to get influence and power and help others.
Yeah.
The other big one is the speaking out movement. I know it affected really heavily with professional wrestling.
Whoop.
Yeah, that's an example. Uh, the speaking out, I think it gave people an opportunity to maybe to get the courage to be like, hey, listen, maybe we're not going to be at a show for another couple months. And now that I'm sitting back and I'm reflecting and I'm seeing what's going on and I'm realizing how I was treated, and we're kind of calling out the wrongs of the world and hopefully stop people from doing things they're doing. And listen, and I'm looking at it both sides too, or maybe the person who's doing it doesn't even they probably realize they are, but it's kind of like developing a habit, good or bad. You know what I mean? So it changed a lot of the way we handle things, the way we see things, the way we speak on things, the way we handle situations. And of course, the negative side of that is people say like, oh, well, everyone's just so offended now. It's not so much being offended, just show each other some respect. I think that was a good movement we were able to do, is sit amongst each other and really handle the way we communicate with one another better, and the way we treat and act on others. A woman shouldn't feel uncomfortable, as much as they are. Like a person of color shouldn't feel uncomfortable. Like we need to be aware of these situations and make and fix these rights.
That's what I was saying. If nothing else, it kind of enlightens more people to watch themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, if nothing else, like seeing whether you agree with whatever side or not, it kind of makes you think, oh man, like I don't personally want to be in that situation. So
Mhm.
I need to be mindful of this. Whereas, maybe even a year ago, 2 years ago, that might not have been the case. So,
Or you see someone around you who's being disgusting or
Yeah.
ugly or being this, you're like, and it's not so much trying to cancel them. It's more or less like, hey man, just give me a heads up. Like what you're doing, that can bite you in the ass. It's not good. You should probably reevaluate what you're doing there, because what you're doing is toxic. And then if they're a good person, they're like, yo, thank you for checking me on that. Like I didn't even realize that could have been a problem. Or they're like, you ain't going to change me, bro. And then it's like, cool, good luck. And then you kind of cut that negativity out of your life and you move on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's characters really showed during this entire pandemic. Like
Yeah.
what their true colors were, true characters, good or bad.
Yeah,
I
feel like
think that came out a lot for many people.
I feel like a boat, you know, when they scrape all the garbage off the bottom of a boat to like reestablish it, I feel like I've removed a lot of problems. You know what I mean? And maybe kept some of them, but also I handle those things differently now as I would have before.
Well, you can't scrape all the barnacles off at once. You know what I mean? You've always
Yeah.
got some sludge that just doesn't come off right away. You might need a couple passes at it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I've taken throughout this journey is to be able to cut that negativity out of your life and really focus on what's important to me and what I do or do not need to involve myself in. What's important to me is my happiness and my peace of mind. And so when I see things online that are like triggering to me, like if somebody's being like incredibly insensitive or rude or just spewing knowledge that is just wrong, but they're convinced they're right, whatever, I will find myself getting angry and typing this big long like essay about, you know, why you're wrong and this is, you know, maybe how you should conduct yourself, whatever. And then before I hit send, I go, oh, I don't actually have to be part of this conversation. I can just say unfollow and then I'm okay. You know, and that's one of the things I've taken away is that I don't have to be part of the conversation. If you want to be toxic, but you don't have to be toxic around me, and I make that choice. I can choose to cut you out.
Yeah, so social media obviously is a big thing, and it was a big topic during this pandemic because that was the only way people were able to interact. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm cutting social media. I'm getting rid of it. It's negative. I don't like it. It's too much this. It's too much that." But if you have watched that documentary on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, if you're seeing a lot of negativity on your timeline, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
there's a reason.
There's a reason for that. Is because that platform knows you're engaging and you're reading it and you're staying on those posts and you're looking for those posts. So you're pretty much feeding the system negativity because that's what's keeping you on that platform. And that's what the platform's going to feed you to keep you there. So if you're experiencing a lot of that, maybe you need to sit back and be like, why am I even obsessing this with my life? Like I need to reevaluate who I'm following, what I'm looking at, put myself in communities on social media or find good people and follow them and interact with those and rewrite that algorithm. The algorithms on there, like, you know, like they're out to get us, sure, but if used correctly, those algorithms can be very helpful too. I know people make jokes like, I made a thing about Dunkin' Donuts, and then 3 minutes later, Dunkin' Donuts popped in my phone. That's not always necessarily a bad thing. You're like, oh, they're having a sale right now. Bye. You know what I mean? Like, use that to your advantage. If you're it's kind of like the law of attraction as well. The yin to the yang, you see up in the corner there. If what you put in is what you're going to receive, and that goes heavily with social media. If you find yourself complaining about social media, look inward. It's not necessarily the world, because what you're doing is you're thinking the world outside is this negative war zone, and then when you step out and have conversation and communicate with other people, you realize it's not really that crazy. It's just a group of people who are feeding into it, and if they just figure out that same thing and realize that you just remove yourself from it, a fire needs 3 things to breathe, and if you don't give it one, it just goes away. So just remove one of those elements.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny you say that. My TikTok is kind of an example. My TikTok initially would be, you know, people dancing and doing the normal TikTok stuff. But as the algorithm has figured me out, I only see conspiracy theory videos, like or like supernatural TikTok. That's all I've not seen a dance in months.
Yeah, mine's the same way. Like honestly, I think TikTok has probably one of the best algorithms on social media right now. People hate on TikTok, but if you just type in a pro wrestling, every time your whole feed will just be pro wrestling. It'll just be pro wrestling, pro wrestling, pro wrestling. It'll just keep you right where you need to be. It's a cool little platform.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, you know, I think we've pretty much covered the pandemic and kind of our experience through it. But, you know, there was also one other major thing that came up the last 4 years, but very much so during the pandemic. And it's one of you had mentioned about not knowing, I guess not really knowing what to trust we didn't really know what information was real. A lot of people doubt the information we're given from, say, the government. So, when it comes to the COVID-19, a lot of the information we're getting is either accurate, but we're being told it's false, or the information is just completely false. It's so. I'm going to ask Maestro first. Where do you typically consume your news or information about things that are going on in the world or that are relevant to you?
Well, I mean, I do get my fair share of news and information from the internet, but I am one to always double check, triple check, quadruple check. I don't just go from one source. I go to multiple outlets and usually try to get varying outlets. So if I know like one website usually leans this way, I'll go to another website just to see if there's any discrepancies or anything like that. And I think the biggest thing just with that is people need to do the research for themselves and not let these places do the thinking for them, if that makes sense. Like they can put out the information and then it's up to you whether you essentially believe it or not. But if you really want to know the truth, you just need to do the research. So like for me personally, I'd say, as many resources as I can get, I try to consume. I'm not sitting there for like hours being like, okay, I need 15 different sources of the same thing.
Right.
But if I skim across like some of the top things and I see there's a lot of consistencies, I'm like, okay, this is probably it. Whereas if I get a lot of varying degrees of things between a lot of top sources, chances are this is not everything it's cracked up to be. So I can't really name like one particular place that's like tried and true, but like I said, I'm always a person to do the research, and that's I'm one of those people too. Like before I go buy something, I'm one of those people that researches and is like, okay, what's the best deal? Where can I get it from? Like I'm just one of those people. So I do that with all my news and information too.
Yeah.
I guess I'm the worst when it comes to I'll look at an article, I'll read it. I do check both sides. So like if they say like, hey, today the president made a speech, and then you listen to one side and they're like, did you see he said this? And then this one's like, he said this. And then I actually watch a speech. I'm like, boy, you guys are just pulling what you want out of all this. It's like, it's gonna sound terrible, and maybe I'm bad for this. Comment me at me, we'll talk about it. But there's so much, like I said, going on in the world, and I'm not trying to sound selfish, but now for me is a good time to start become a little bit selfish. And I'm not going to change what's happening out there with this pandemic or what's going on with politics and what people believe or think or who said what. So I just stay away from it for the most part. Like unless it's something insane, like I for the most part I'll look at the thing, but I don't really dwell much on what's happening unless they're telling me not to go to work the next day, and they're not. I'm just pretty much paying my bills and living my life. But yeah, when it comes to news, it's terrifying because, like I said, you can literally watch two reputable or people who are supposed to be reputable news sources, and they're telling completely different narratives, and it's dangerous. It's super dangerous. And then the social media thing, people say, oh, well, don't get your news from Facebook, like Facebook or Twitter. Like they diminish that as your news, but most of your news sources are just posting what they say on TV and just making a repost on Facebook and Twitter anyway. So there's really no difference in where you're getting your news. It's all the same stuff. If you're getting garbage from one guy, you're getting garbage from if you're listening to it on TV, on cable, or if you're reading it on Twitter.
I would say the thing about Facebook is that during like the BLM, I would say demonstrations in a sense, but Facebook Live was your best way to realize how full of crap the news media was.
Yeah.
Spinning it one way, but if you watch a live stream from somebody's camera, like it's all truth. You're seeing what's actually happening. And through that, I'm like, oh no, the news is spinning this all wrong. Like,
yeah.
Well, you got to remember at the end of the day, they're a TV program too. They got to do what draws in the viewers.
So that's
great example with those. So I want to definitely put a clear definition. And like I said, hate me if you want, but this is how I feel. There was BLM demonstrations where people were there doing the right thing. And then there was protests and riots. There was riots. And if you watch those lives, a lot of people who live in those neighborhoods were like, can you guys get out of here? Like, most of that stuff that was happening in those neighborhoods were outside people coming in just to destroy stuff because it wasn't their neighborhood. So it wasn't like a guy was walking out his front door and being like, I'm mad at this person, and throwing a Molotov through his own front door. Like, that's just not what was realistically happening. And the same people who were trying to fight who were marching in the street and holding up signs and trying to do the right thing are now getting lumped into fire and destruction because it ruins their agenda and diminishes their agenda, but they weren't the same people.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it would be good to realize that. And, to what Maestro was saying there, in the first episode of the High Tension Wellness, I talked about how the mechanisms that the news outlets use is it's keeping you in suspense and fear and panic. Like, that's how they make you a return customer. And it is a business. They need their ratings. They need their viewership. They need their ads to be seen. And that means it's a product. It's a show. They're not going to tell you the truth. And actually, like I've seen recently, I think, what's his name? Who's the dude with the bow tie who's like an asshole on Fox News?
Oh yeah. Carson.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker.
I literally just watched a thing where he's like, "Oh yeah, we lie." Like he admits this openly. But again, a soundbite only goes so far.
If you're a pro wrestling fan, I don't understand how you get so caught up in this craziness in the world, because we're literally being worked. Like 100%. This is the authority versus the you know what I mean? Like, it's literally a wrestling storyline, except they're doing it with real humans.
Yeah. Life is a work, period.
Yeah.
So like, to kind of like wrap up this segment,
and then the Rock's running for president will be fine.
Listen, have you seen Young Rock yet?
No, I have not, but listen.
The premise is that he's running for president like 2033 or something.
Can you imagine? Just here, like, all right, the world's going to crap. Everything's terrible, right? And then all of a sudden, if you smell, right? And then could you imagine those rallies? Forget
it's
about
weird.
It. Just comes in and lays the smack down.
Yeah,
there are not many good things to say about celebrities becoming a president at this point.
At this point, let's just keep doing it.
But if it's The Rock,
depends on who it is.
I feel like The Rock would make a fantastic president.
Yeah,
maybe because he reminds me of Obama. I don't know. I don't.
You're like, Rocky, we're not going to give people.
Obama. Have you ever seen
You're not going to give people what they want. It doesn't matter.
Have you never seen the Rock Obama skit on SNL? Where Obama, when Obama would get mad at people, he would turn into the Rock Obama, and it was the Rock.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Fantastic. He like hulked out into the Rock.
Also reminds me of the Key and Peele. Wasn't that?
Where
they do the angry Obama or whatever?
He said what Obama was trying to say.
Yeah, he was the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Oh man. To kind of wrap this up, like, how can you utilize critical thinking skills to avoid being duped in a sense by the social media or the news outlets that are kind of stressing you out in a sense?
Take a couple seconds. Stop. Take a breath. Don't act immediately. Really process what's happening. If it truly affects your life, then sure, make a stand for it. But a lot of what people are fighting for and arguing for isn't really rights being taken away. They're just kind of saying they're going to be. It's all been false flags. No one has really lost any rights in the past 8 years, but they just tease that you're going to get more of us to fight. Can anyone think of realistically, has there been any huge major constitutional changes that we've lost anything?
No.
I mean, the only group of people that I can really think have lost anything in the past couple of years is the LGBTQ community, where they're losing health benefits and they're losing the rights to doing stuff. So if anyone, sure, fly that flag. Let's fight for that thing. But no one's lost a gun yet. No one's lost the.
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Is every time something happens, well, they're going to come take your gun.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think that's
It's
happening.
not happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're no one's lost freedom of speech. Cancel culture is only like, I mean, sure, there has been victims of cancel culture, but for the most part, if you're a dick and you say some shit, you're probably gonna get canceled, and you may deserve it. Do I think your entire life should be over? No, reassess yourself and come back and get back up on the horse a couple of weeks. But like, it is what it is.
But that's freedom of speech. It doesn't mean you're
Absolutely.
free of consequences. That's just the
Thank
freedom of
you.
speech. You
Thank
can
you.
say whatever you want. Like I could say whatever I want right now on this live, but
Yeah.
I have to understand that once I say something and if I piss off the wrong people, guess what? There's going to be consequences. I might
Or-
not have a job tomorrow, or I might not do this, or I might
Yeah.
not do that. Like just because there's like freedom of speech is not being taken away because you have had consequences on you. You still
Yeah.
said it. It's not like somebody went and now you can't say it. Nobody's done that. You can say it. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want in that matter. But there are consequences. Every action has a consequence. Consequence does not necessarily mean negative either.
Yeah,
But
and
like
when you sign up for a platform like a Facebook or a Twitter, you're signing that you're going to abide by their rules. It's their platform. So if you post something they don't like, you can be just like if you walk into a grocery store and start screaming at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
You have they have the right to remove you from their store.
Right. Yeah, you can do that. You can go into a grocery store and start yelling at people, but it's not your store, so they have the right to kick you out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. But people don't quite understand that. Well, why can't I say that? No, you can, and you did. But then people are going to hate you for it. That's plain and simple. And they don't understand it. Well, why people hate me? Because you said that. You don't have to agree with it.
You're being a huge bigot, and then your job in your real world is that you're someone's boss, and now your employees don't feel comfortable around you because you just spouted out that you don't like people of color, and they're like, "Can he not be my boss anymore? Because I don't like he's not going to give me a fair shake." And they're like, "You're right. See you later." You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, because the companies have to think about that. It's like, all right, what's going to look good for us? You know what I mean? And they pick a side too, because like they could either be all for it or they could be totally against it. But again, that's the consequence. If you know what side you're going with, then by all means.
Can I ask a question to you guys on this topic?
Absolutely.
Where does your empathy lie with this? So like obviously if someone does something or says something, maybe I'm too bleeding heart sometimes, but I don't think someone should ever be done forever. That's just me. Like even when people commit horrendous crimes, I think you still are able to rehabilitate yourself and make yourself a better person and contribute to society. But I think if you are called out on it and you do those crimes, you have to work 3 times harder to prove yourself to be reestablished in society. I think that goes for any crime or anything you do in general. That's just me as a person. Where do you guys lie on that?
I think it depends on your ability to be held accountable. Because if it's something that happened when you're a teenager or you're developing, I would say I'm a lot more forgiving and offering of a second chance and a fair shake. Now, if you're in your mid-20s or older and you should be in a place where you are aware of social norms, you're aware of right and wrong, I would think unless there's some sort of cognitive disability, I will not give you a fair shake. Now, if it's something horrendous, I mean,
can I put a scenario out there?
Yeah, because like when you say like horrendous, like I go to
Tyson.
Okay, well, what situation?
He's convicted of rape.
Oh no, so okay, so you're exactly where my mind is. Unforgivable.
But I mean, he has done things to right those wrongs, proven himself in society that he has changed his mindset, who is a person, and is looking to make positive changes in society.
Right. I don't think that is forgiving of what he did, but because he has power and he has influence, if he's doing good now, it doesn't forgive what he did.
Absolutely.
But he can come and he can become a better person, but like you still have that mark of like, listen, well,
I guess
Tyson, but
I guess my question is, if he didn't get called out for it or didn't get caught for it, would that have changed? Would he have still done all of these?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, so to me, I think
needed to be canceled. He needed to be fall down. He needed to go to prison. He needed to pay.
Right.
He needed to pay his dues.
I think the question,
but then this goes back to whether he deep down knew whether that was right or wrong. I think that's where that lies for me. If you knew it was wrong, you still did it anyway. you can do all you want afterwards to make up for it. You knew it was wrong. You still did it, and now you got caught. So now you're trying to make up for it. To me, that's a no-go.
See, now, like with somebody like Mike Tyson, like, again, it comes to that cognitive thing. Sure, he's a boxer. Like, if these things happened and like he wasn't aware these things were wrong, with somebody like him, I might be a little more forgiving. If it were proven that like the dude's got CTE and or something like that.
Trained to be a killer, you know what I mean? At the end of, like, he wasn't from a young age, he just was put in a mind state that you had to hurt people, you know what I mean?
That's the thing, like at a young age, like now you're looking at trauma, and we're going to talk a lot about trauma and high tension wellness. Now you're looking at somebody who's been dealing with trauma for all of his life, and he doesn't know like right or wrong. Like he does know right or wrong, but he wasn't taught right or wrong. So like his view is askew from what we believe to be right or wrong. He might believe, hey, women are subservient. That might be a belief of his.
He did at one point,
you know, and so because
openly in interviews, he honestly felt that women were lesser or not as equal to.
Right, and that's something he was taught that was inaccurate.
Yeah.
And so if he can take those negative things he was taught and he can learn from that and honestly be rehabilitated, well then I'm looking at something. But like now we're talking, I hate calling out the guy, but like we know a guy who had said something ignorant a couple years ago on Twitter, and then
when he was young, right? Correct.
Younger. He said some ignorant things that I don't think.
Now, real quick. Now, did he say ignorant things, or he just because I'm not defending it, but I'm just saying what he said was normal lingo for kids my age to say stuff to each other. Was it correct? No, but at that time, that was kind of said. I'm not saying I'm not justifying it, but
that's like somebody coming to you now with a law, right, and saying, "Hey, this is the law today that wasn't the law back then, but I'm going to punish you for what you did back then."
Yeah, we know a situation like that.
Well, that's where I'm drawing it from. That's just not where I'm drawing it from. But
like,
yeah,
I'm not outing myself here, but I want to be completely transparent and stuff. Like at one point in time, I won't say the words, but I used words that were derogatory to people with mental disabilities. Like if I didn't like something, that was the word I attached to it. If I thought something was stupid or lesser than, or I was making fun of my friend, I used words that were homophobic slurs. I'm telling you right now that I 100% said them. But also I have grown to think now I know what those words have power for. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I was gonna say. That's where the maturity comes in. You know what I mean? Because when you are younger, there is a certain immaturity that you just don't understand. You know, and I see this quite often where it's like, I see different people saying different things, and then you see like just the immaturity disconnect, and like most, if not all of us, have gone through that. So that's where it is. But at a certain point, there is a time where that is no longer acceptable as a thing. So it would depend on where that threshold is.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm not the same person I was at 25 as I am now at 33. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. Everyone's entitled to it, but I truly feel like if someone is canceled or if someone is demonstrated, I think people need to realize too. Sure, it is okay to call them out, but if you do get called out, you need to assess why you're being canceled or called out. And then you need to your life shouldn't be over. Like, that's just my opinion. I don't think your life should be over. I think you should make conscious and honest changes to fixing these problems and your mind state and educating yourself of why you feel that way. Racism, homophobic, just being anything of that. A lot of that is just not having the knowledge on the topic or having any experience with it. They probably don't know any person of color. They probably don't know anyone who's trans or who's gay. And maybe if that's what you're being called out for, put yourself in those situations. Learn from those people. I think just more empathy needs to be out in the world in just general, because I think when people immediately just go to hate and like you're done. Forget about it. You're done forever. You have no chance. You are not available to society ever again. I don't know if I subscribe to that. I think if someone does say something, and if you check them and say, hey man, this is why it bothered me, and they're like, F you, then be like, all right man, I can't really do much for you. But if you're like, I seriously hurt you, let's figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, if I come to you and say, hey, you did this wrong, or I know you did this, admit to it, and they're like, no, then you can't do much for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's where I'm at with it. I think if you can understand, like, hey, I'm being called out because I did or said something stupid, or offensive, or just plain out wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If I can be like, okay, hey, I might be wrong here, or I might have been taught the wrong thing, or I might have believed the wrong thing. And if I can take that and like learn from it and adjust myself and kind of like help build a better community around that learning experience, I'm not saying you're forgiven, but you're accepted into this new community.
Yeah. Some of the best people who can teach somebody are people who've been through it. So
Absolutely.
when someone comes out of prison because they killed and robbed and hurt somebody, and then they're teaching kids like, yeah, man, I did this. I'm not saying I am. I'm not saying I'm a good person. I was a piece of garbage back then, but I'm here to tell you that you don't have to walk those same shoes. It's kind of like it's a learning point.
And learn, like they have former drug addicts that work in drug rehabs because you as somebody who's going through those things or have been taught those things, to learn from other people who have experienced that same thing, it's a lot easier to take their word for it than somebody who is just talking to you from a textbook. You know what I mean?
You may have friends and family who you approach with that information and be like, hey, you're hurting me. And they may tell you to go F yourself.
Mhm.
But that person, their physical and spiritual change isn't yet. And just because you speak it doesn't mean it is there. But I'm telling you, you're planting the seed. Something may happen to them in the next 5 to 6 years or 30 minutes or 2 hours. It may never come, but there may be a time where they look back and, because I know from experience, I've done things and I'm like, and I went back to the person like, yo, sorry, man. Like a couple of years ago, I was a jerk to you. You know what I mean? And you don't have to take my apology. What I did to you is not cool. And I may have hurt your feelings, but this is me just telling you that I learned from that experience and I apologize, but it's up to you to have that empathy. And if you don't, I truly understand that too. I just definitely wanted to put the other side of that coin out there. I just didn't want to be like talking about cancel culture, and not also talk about maybe the world being a little more empathetic and letting people make changes.
Right.
Yeah, none of us are perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that there are some things that are completely unforgivable, and I think there are those circumstances. The circumstances being like I was young and I was dumb, or listen, I've experienced an intense amount of trauma throughout my life, and I don't necessarily know that I was wrong. And
everyone has experienced some form of trauma where they think and they're right, what they're doing is completely justified, and that's not the case.
I think mainly for me, it's the intentions behind the change. If you go through the experience and you are like, oh man, like that was really wrong, and I want to change because I genuinely want to be a better person, that's way more forgivable than, oh shit, I'm getting canceled, I need to do this so I can get this back. And then once you're back, then you might change a little bit, but then at the same time, you're just trying to get back what you lost.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
being canceled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of where my threshold goes, because there are some things that can be forgivable, but sometimes the intentions are not correct in how people are going about changing, quote unquote. Because some people could legitimately be changing to better themselves because they realized, maybe they didn't realize it at first, but now they realize how like just awful and wrong it was, and they're just trying to be a better person. Like I think that definitely gets at least more of my empathy, and I would hope that's what people would look for. But if it's just somebody who's like, oh shit, I'm just trying to get back what I lost, but I don't really give a shit about actually trying to be a better person. I just need to get back on, I need to get back to wrestling, or I need to get whatever the fuck it is. Then, then I can't buy it.
That's the struggle of our justice system as a whole. Is there's people who want to be rehabilitated, and there's people who are just faking their way through the system to get back to where they were. But also a huge problem in our justice system is a lot of people choose not to be rehabilitated because they know that what they're going back to, because a lot of people aren't empathetic to be like, even if I make a change, they're not going to care anyway. But I think if more people are willing to not forget, not forgive, but just be like, give people opportunities. I think you'll have more people who are willing to make that or cross that bridge. But yeah, you're 100% right, and that change doesn't happen overnight. Like somebody could be just bullshit and be like, I got canceled. Oh, all right, I'm being attacked on social media. I need to do a quick snap my finger. It doesn't work like that, man. If you're being canceled, and you're a lot of people's mental response is to fight back. They want to defend. They want to fight. They want to buck against the system. And like I said, that change, the seed has been planted. It may take them a while to realize, oh, that's why I got that. Okay, got it. Now I need to fix myself. And that's usually when the person hits complete rock bottom. You know what I mean? That change doesn't come overnight. So what I'm saying is if someone did something to you and it was 30 minutes ago and they go do it again and again and again, that's a thing. But if you're holding on a grudge to someone who did you wrong in 7th grade and you see them in the streets, maybe have a conversation. You know what I mean? They may or may not be that person again. But no, I thought that was a good talking point. Sorry, I kind of.
No, dude, please, like, either of you, like, if you have anything pops in your head that you want to talk about, please, like, this is an open forum. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I wanted it to be. I think this is already a success. I'm enjoying it. I think we talked pretty much a good amount about that subject there. I think the final subject that we are going to talk about from the episode itself, and then we could just kind of have a random chat if you guys like. The last part of the episode was physical activity that enlightens not just your physical health, but your mental and emotional health as well. Some of the examples that I gave were like yoga. Yep. DDP yoga. Absolutely. Another example that I had was dance.
Oh, you think I was saying DDP yoga? I'm part of the Illuminati, bro. I don't know.
And how do I cancel you? Yeah. So like personally, I don't. Man, neither of you knew me back in my early 20s, but I enjoyed dancing. So there was a place in outside of Reading, PA called Building 24, and listen, every time a Lady Gaga song came on, that's when I knew
that place has done me dirty so many times.
Really?
Oh, man. Many times.
I may have played Just Dance a couple times. You know?
Yeah, man. Like, listen,
I can't dance in my life.
Dancing is a hell of an.
Doesn't matter. You don't have to know how to dance. It just feels good when you do it. You just do it.
I'm a rock guy. I jump up and down. That's my dance.
Hey, that's dancing.
Or I stand still and the girl simulates sex on me, and then I think I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? That's dance for me.
The stories that I could tell, but I won't on this podcast.
This is about wellness.
This is about wellness, not stank fingers.
I'm not touching anything. I'm just saying I stand there and they dance, and then I feel like I'm dancing because I was I was a prop at that point.
Indeed. Yeah, I don't know if I don't consider that dancing, but anyway.
Hashtag stank fingers.
I do. Hashtag prop.
Yeah. So
grind post.
Yeah.
This got away from me. So ref.
Hey, you said open forum. That's what you get.
It really
you thought of me. You know what you're getting into.
Went from a great conversation to stank fingers and grinding. Yeah.
Listen, we'll if we get another interview on the IWP network, we'll talk about hashtag stank fingers.
It would be the worst thing that was ever talked about on my network.
It's not. That was a whole hand. My God, people. So anyway, Ref Gina joined us on the episode talking a bit about Kung Fu. What do you guys have any experience with? Or no, she talked about karate. My bad.
I watched it one time.
You did well. You just bought the new Batman movie, so
I did. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Nice. So you can't really talk about it.
You watch it?
No. I skimmed through it.
It just came in the mail today. Or yesterday.
Well, I will tell you that, like, I'm such a fan of Bruce Lee and his teachings and his like quotes that even just today, a friend reached out to me and was like going through something, and I was like, I gave him the Bruce Lee quote of a finger pointing to the moon. Like if basically, I'm not going to quote it directly because my mind doesn't work tonight. But like if you're focusing on the finger, you're missing all of the heavenly glory. So like I literally would probably at least once a week quote Bruce Lee. So I very much enjoy the Zen aspect and the wisdom that comes along with the teachings of karate as well. But what did you guys watched the episode? What did you guys think about that as an activity? If you guys have not, I personally, as a youngster, I did a bit of Wing Chun.
I was told for my joint disorder that yoga and Tai Chi would probably be really cool for me. I don't, like when I think Kung Fu, like is that's not just always about combat and stuff, right? Like,
Well, no, I mean a lot of it's more like about defense, and it's about like like muscle memory, dynamic resistance, which is a
yeah.
lot of the basis of DDP yoga or DDP.
I do have a sort of resistance bands. I prefer resistance over free weight. That's just me. I think it.
Yeah.
It's scientifically well. Here's the thing. It's actually scientifically like better for you to use resistance bands if you're looking to just kind of like if you're not looking to like let's say like if you don't care about how much you lift.
I'm not trying to be Brian Cage or abs, you know.
Well, no, not you can still look like muscular, but like if you don't care whether you're bench pressing 350 or 150, resistance bands are better for you for the sculpting aspect of it. You know, you may not get like the strength unless you do the free weights, but as far as like joints and things, resistance bands and the variable resistance and the weights are much better for you and have like a way less risk of injury from that standpoint.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something I would be interested in looking more into.
Yeah, for sure. So what physical activities do you guys like get into that not just you do for exercise, but you do for fun?
I just say 12-ounce curls, depending on what I'm holding in my hand.
Sure.
Yeah, I need to. We actually had a conversation off camera about when I started this podcast or I started doing this, I kind of went to the mental aspect first. It's all about developing habits. And when I first started this, I was like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. And then I did it for a couple of days, and I was like, I think I can add another one, and then I can add another one, and then I added 6 shows. And then people were like, oh, you're not going to be able to maintain the 6. And I was like, then it became a challenge. Like, oh, you don't think I can maintain 6 podcasts and do a network? And then I was like, I just kind of taught myself how to manage my time, but still do stuff with others and and develop these habits and mentally prepare myself. And it's not even a second thought like, oh, mic, bang, 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 ready to go. Now that I've taught myself and I've learned that this muscle memory and fixing my mind and looking at things differently and fixing this up here and developing those habits, I now want to turn that energy into, hey, for 15 minutes today, go turn your DDP yoga on, or go do a couple push-ups, or be healthy. I haven't hit that yet, but it is something I am looking forward to doing very soon. I want to make 2020 for me. This is kind of like my mental thing. I was telling Alex is I want this year to be the year of 0 excuses. If you want something, don't tell yourself the 15 reasons why you can't. Just do it. If you fail, then you learned. You at least gave it a shot. But that's how I'm entering this year. Just 0 excuses. I don't want to hear why you couldn't do it. And I haven't. It's the second month in, and I haven't been great at it. But maybe me speaking into existence is where I turn that around.
I think that's a big thing. Speaking it into existence is actually, we call it manifesting, man. It's a real thing. I've done it with my personal and professional goals, and it's literally a thing that's helped me achieve all of them. But like, how about setting like small goals for yourself? Like you have your major goal of like, say, I want to lose so many pounds or whatever, but how do you get there? Like what small goals or small rules that you follow? Like for me, one of the things that I do to help keep me focused or accountable is, say, like I got the new Mario video game, but I want to play it, but I'm telling myself, hey, I can't play this until I do at least this 20 minutes of physical activity. And then it's like, that's my reward for it. And if I go ahead and play the game without that, then like, I'm going to force myself to feel like a failure because like I failed myself and I wasn't honest to myself, you know,
giving yourself small rewards for your goals.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Do you guys do anything like that? or anything like similar, or like any small goals that you have on the way to your larger goals, or what's your process?
I mean, my thing, because I have such like an interesting relationship with food, and how before the pandemic happened, I was already on sort of like a weight loss journey, because I was up to 300 pounds at one point in my life. And, so I started doing like the keto diet, and I got down to like 240 ish, whatever. But then after a while, it became like I was eating the same thing over and over again. And, I saw the results. So that's why I kept doing it. But then at a certain point, I hit a plateau, and I haven't been able to like get back on that horse, but I've been doing other things to supplement that. So I kind of like give myself leeway with certain things. Like, I'm not going all in on multiple things. Like, I'm like, okay, if I can exercise at least 4 times this week, I'll allow myself to cheat a little bit with this kind of food. But
like
if I'm
like an entire calzone.
Yeah, like an entire calzone, which I've done that, or like, for example, today, I not only did my exercise, but I was also outside shoveling snow for about like 3 hours. So I said, all right, you deserve Wendy's. So I got myself Wendy's. And normally, like, on a normal day, I would not do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, to me, it's like something because for some reason I'm not ready to like give up everything at once, if that makes sense. So just allowing yourself to have a little bit of leeway, but not make it like a total on excuse and be like, well, I didn't exercise, but I want Wendy's. Okay, I'm getting Wendy's today. It's like, no. You only get this because you did those things. So it's kind of like your reward system, but just letting like a little bit of those things you still enjoy. Cause like, I mean, I love my redheaded mistress, Wendy. So like, I can't.
Her chicken sandwiches are so good. Do you ever go to Wendy's and justify getting chicken and not a burger because it's healthier? I do that a lot.
I get both, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you go chicken and burger?
I do.
I love you.
I do. Yeah. I get
like, if I get the chicken nuggets, it's way better than a double cheeseburger, but I'm still gonna drink that super large drink.
Yep. See, no, I get the burger and I get a chicken sandwich and fries.
I'm a junkie for fountain soda. Like, I hate McDonald's. I think their burgers are gross.
Yep.
But their Coca-Cola and fountain sodas are
on point. They really are.
I will force myself to eat that sponge just so I can drink fountain soda. That grease sponge.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that.
I'm just looking around the room now, like, what am I gonna eat? Yeah.
But I guess like I guess where I was going with that is like, don't be too hard on yourself, but you still need to set some of those little goals and stuff for yourself. But don't be too hard on yourself if you don't achieve it exactly to the point. But you also don't want to like overstep it and be like, okay, well, you're gonna exercise 6 times for an hour each day. It's like, well, no, I don't really think you're gonna do that. Like, just, I don't know.
One of the things I read or I was looking into for like a minor thing that you can do to kind of spark creativity or spark energy or spark like you want to spark a change. It's just a small thing, is like cleaning a room, cleaning a space. So if you have a space that you create, or a space you want to work out, or a space you want to do things, a lot of people, from what like psychologically, they'll look and they'll be like, see clutter, or they'll see like their room is disarray, or maybe there's garbage or trash, and they'll be like, well, I'm not doing anything today because I'd have to do this first. Like that is their excuse to not do it. So a lot of people say is do a small thing by cleaning a section of your house, or cleaning a room, or a designated spot. So you can't use that as an excuse to be like, I can't go do my edits today because everything's dirty here. You know what I mean? Like something like that. And I have done that personally. Because I have a little man cave game room, and I'm like, I won't even play. Like, I don't want to go in there and play a game because I don't want to look at it, what it looks like. And then you go in there and you clean it, and you're like, oh, okay, now I could sit and enjoy a movie, or I could do homework or research, or I could do like just small things like that could be a change. Just kind of physically changing the way something looks, or organizing something in your life, and that can spark change somewhere else as well.
That's something you can control too, and you have like basically 100% control.
And you see
Whether-
the end result after you're done.
Yeah, whereas sometimes, like even with the exercise and those kind of diet goals, even if you set those, you don't 100% see the results right away or have 100% control of that. Because like there's been some days where I know I've eaten complete keto and yet I still gain weight, and I'm like, well, how the does this happen? And then I can go eat Wendy's another day and somehow lose weight. It makes no sense to me.
That's all I would need to hear. I was like,
know.
yeah, keto out, Wendy's in.
yeah. That's why it makes it increasingly more difficult to keep doing that. But so like some of those things you don't have 100% control of, because it could just be how your body's reacting that day, or some other mix of whatever's going on that you had. But like something like that where you clean your own space, or like that you have 100% control of, and it's like the instant gratification thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, we kind of worked our way through the entire show there. I think it's awesome that we were able to take an hour and 10 minutes off of a 20-minute episode and expand on that with some great conversation. I do want to ask you guys, what do you think would be great ideas for future episode topics? I have a few in mind, but they're not like necessarily set. So I'm curious as to what you guys would like to see on high tension wellness.
Maybe I always looked into researching, or I don't know, because I'm not a doctor, I don't know much on it, but like when a lot of people look into weight loss or their journey there, maybe their metabolism has slowed down, or maybe not. I'm not saying steroids, but sometimes when guys get older, they lose a little testosterone. Maybe get someone like a nutritionist find someone who can spark different ways to spark up metabolism or your testosterone levels too. So when you do have a workout, you have more energy. Another topic that I do it a little bit, but I don't know the science behind it, but maybe like CBD, taking a CBD supplement every day. I started doing that personally. I take a morning and a night, and it's anxiety, depression, it's been a game changer. This is probably the first year in a long, long time where I didn't have seasonal depression.
Yeah, same.
And so maybe those are two topics, learning about maybe food consumption and the fact of what it can do to spark weight loss or boosting testosterone or metabolism, and maybe a talk about CBD and the benefits of that.
Sure.
I think for not necessarily because I think this would benefit those things too, but just like I know for me personally, I'm a big overthinker. And I have a very hard time trying to figure out how not to do. Like even today, I was overthinking something that really should not have been, and I wasted so much time. So like just kind of like some different maybe like mental aspects, like dealing with like trying to navigate the overthinking, and even maybe like because I know for a lot of people this is something, but like a self-confidence. Sort of thing, because like I know, especially past maestros suffered from this greatly, was the whole self-confidence thing. So what are some things that could help an individual person, or like again like some kind of your community around you to help you out, because I know a lot of people struggle with those kind of things on varying levels.
Yeah, I will say this. I want to give you a little bit of a boost. You are insanely talented, and I want you to know that. And I think a lot of what you do is absolutely fantastic, and I'm very happy I met you through Alex, and I really look forward to working with you in the future on different products, because you are incredibly talented, and sometimes it feels good to hear that, and I wanted to be the one to tell you that.
Well, thank you.
The overthinking is I do that as well, and my crutch to that is up in the other corner there, Alex. But then when I come to him, I say, "Hey, I'm not saying this for you to hold on to. I'm just saying this so I can get it off my chest, and maybe you can check me, and then it's good." But I think where I'm comfortable doing it with someone like him, and this could be a future topic, is you can be the friend who helps someone through something, but you also have to learn if you have that energy where people come to you for things. And that's my wife. My wife has been that for a long time, and she kind of got away from it, because for most of her life she was always someone that everybody went through for their problems, but then when she had them, no one was there for her. So she absorbs people's issues and then kind of takes them on herself. And if you're going to be that person, you have to learn how to kind of like water off a duck's back. Like it hits you, all you're doing there is letting them say it and bounce off you, and then
Right.
you can give them the advice to go forward. Because I think sometimes people try to be that person and they take on other people's burdens. They kind of Michael
Mhm.
Clark Duncan themselves from what was it,
From
the Green Mile, or
Yeah.
where they absorb it to the point where it hurts
All
them.
right.
But you need to find a friend who can do that, and find people who you can vent to and say, hey, am I overthinking this? Like,
Mhm.
you know, I was doing this today, and this guy at the job, he said this word, and I think he meant this. Does he hate me? Should I? And then you have someone like, I wouldn't stress that. Or you just be like, why don't you ask him? Talk to him. And you're like, yeah, that was really simple. I didn't think of that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so Kilowatt has been very, very helpful for me in those situations,
Oh
and
yeah.
talking me off ledges and
Mhm.
yeah.
Same.
I appreciate that, guys. So what I'm taking away here is that I should probably do an episode on, and I'm going to use the word that you used when you talked about me in a past episode of one of your shows, beacons, beacons to go to, and how to be a better listener, and
Yeah, you're
and
literally the embodiment of a lighthouse. Like,
yeah,
some people are lost ships at sea, and they see that light, and they say, "I need to. That's the way I need to go. But if I go too far, I'm going to crash." But like, you are a beacon. Like, people,
yeah.
you resonate with people and people use that to help you. And I think you do a good job of balancing not taking on burdens, but helping people with theirs.
And that's why
Nice.
I
Yeah.
think this whole thing is awesome. Like I feel like just this whole thing, this whole high tension wellness is such a good thing.
Love it.
That you're putting out there for the world. Because like I know, and I'm pretty sure Anthony can speak to this as well. But like just the little bit you've helped the two of us, if you can do that in some small part for a larger community here, I think that would make such, and I know this is one of your big things, is to create that sort of community where
Yeah.
everybody's helping each other and all that kind of stuff. And I think it would be very worthwhile. So that's why, like, I'm 1,000% behind all of this stuff here and all the great work that you do. And I think
Yeah.
more people need to hear and need to experience these things, because I think it'll just genuinely help everybody.
Yeah, I think that's kind of our goal here, man. I appreciate the kind words. You guys are so cool. So yeah, we'll definitely do an episode on that. I think to what you were saying earlier, Maestro. I think we'll do an episode on self-confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem, and we'll also look into like alternative medicines and alternative health and alternative ways of thinking about health. So that's a lot for me to think about, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that. Like, this is oddly enough, like, it's not wrestling, but this is like a weird passion project of mine. I'm really happy about it.
Stuff like this could have kept some of our favorite legends around a lot longer. So even if it's on a smaller level of the independent scene, it's helpful.
Yeah, and with that, like, I am not a therapist, and but I do like to think of myself as therapeutic. So that I do have to disclaim that I am not a therapist.
You are my therapy animal.
Human interaction and conversation is therapy all on its own. It's not professional,
Indeed.
but it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, well, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned in the pandemic is when we were forced to be separated. I remembered the feeling, and I'd never noticed it before. But once it was gone, I realized there's a feeling I get when I'm with people. It's a weird feeling, like an aura almost, that I get when I'm being social. And I used to take it for granted. But now when I'm at Camp Leapfrog, or I'm, interacting with you and your network or whatever, like when I'm with people who are positive and like-minded, and we're having fun and we're creating, or just even just being around people at all, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never gonna forget that, and I'm never gonna take that for granted. Happiness and positivity is that's like my life essence at this point. And I want to spread that. I want to spread that joy to everybody, and I want to build that community around positivity, love, and life. So, guys, thank you so much for this. Maestro, Anthony, what would you guys like to plug? Because as much as you guys have contributed to this, I feel like we need to contribute to your endeavors as well.
You can go first, Maestro.
All right. Well, I mean, as always, you guys stay tuned with High Tension Wrestling, all the stuff we're coming out with. We've got a couple other podcasts in the works here. I think we can, well, because we got the Moran and Friends, we can officially
Ooh, yes, the first episode
say
is
that,
ready
right?
to go.
It's coming up, right?
So
The first
excited.
episode's coming up soon. So.
Coming out this Thursday, whatever date that is.
Ooh,
So you can
nice.
check that out on all the High Tension Wrestling stuff. So High Tension HTW.
Mhm.
Obviously Camp Leapfrog. Keep tuning in for that. We got Camper's Choice coming up in March, and we got a couple other things coming up in the pipeline. So you can find that at Camp Leapfrog.
If you haven't done so already, head over to IWTV and use code Leapfrog and watch the last show and watch the backlog. You will not be disappointed. It's been awesome content.
In fact, I think they're either putting or it is already up the retro Leapfrog as well. I think that's
it was
either
sent
up or
over.
it's coming up
on
there also. So all of the Camp Leapfrog backlog will be on there.
If you want to see cocaine used as a foreign object in a match, that's your show.
Facts. And then you can follow me at Maestro Scott across all the platforms. Occasionally do little music things here and there. So you can find all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm excited for more music. I think once summer hits, if you have some extra time, I think we should do another campaign of Maestro requests.
Yeah, I was gonna say once the summer hits, I'll probably have a little bit more time because I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that.
What all instruments do you play?
So I mean, the main thing is I sang. That's what I went to college for. But I know enough piano to get by. So that's I guess my main instrument. I also play trombone. I can play any of the brass instruments.
Can you play saxophone?
I'm not good at saxophone.
Just learn Careless Whisper and then just call it quits.
I could probably do that. Yeah. But yeah. No, I definitely, that is definitely something I would love to get back into. I mean, it was fun for me, and I think people enjoyed it. And you can just send me real weird requests that I'll do as a piano vocal cover. Be interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All I got is the IWEP network. We do a bunch of cool stuff on there. We're always looking to collaborate, talk to people, express having some fun there. Just check me out there. I do want to end real quick with this. I have a Bruce Lee quote, but before I say that, I want to say if you have listened and this has been anything for you, make sure to take a couple seconds out, hit follow on some stuff here. Really support High Tension and everything they got going on here. And don't wait to tell someone what they mean to you. If someone inspires you, if someone motivates you, if someone does anything for you on a positive level, don't wait till someone's gone to tell them how you feel, because I think that's a mistake I have made personally, and it's a mistake that a lot of people have done. And it doesn't have to be a celebrity, it doesn't have to be anything. Like, I just recently lost a friend. She was very influential with me when it comes to me changing my mindset and the way I think and look at things. And unfortunately, she lost her battle to addiction. And she lost it trying to get clean. Just her body couldn't handle it, and we lost her. And I'd never had that opportunity to tell her what she did for me and how important it was. So don't wait to tell people, that they mean something, that they did something for you, or they're positive or influential, because you saying that can spark something in them for them to keep pushing and driving as well. So that's my first thing. And then the last thing I want to say is it's a very simple Bruce Lee quote, and it says, "Be happy, but never satisfied."
Yeah, that's definitely deep. I like that a lot, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, man. Like I'm reveling in happiness, but I'm not satisfied. Like,
I have so much more I want to accomplish.
Like, I had my set of goals that I feel like I thought, oh, hey, I accomplished all my goals recently. And I'm like, I got to make more goals. Like, there's so much to do. To what you said about letting people know about what they mean to you, I think Maestro can attest that I'm of that same mindset. Every time we're done a filming, I'll be texting him. I'm like, I'm so thankful for you. I'm so emotional right now. Don't judge me, but this is the best thing.
I got emotional watching Leapfrog. Like, when I called him, I was holding back emotion because I watched it and just the live tweeting of the community you guys have built, and watching people's tweets saying like, I had a real shitty week, but Camp Leapfrog was definitely the highlight of my week, and just seeing all that community built, and you guys are a part of that. And I'm very honored to be your friends, and I'm very proud of you. And I was watching it, and I was just like, I had emotion. I was like, man, my friends are doing cool shit, man, and I'm proud of them. Like, it's awesome, and I love what you guys are doing. And please keep doing it.
I'm so glad that we're facilitating that community and all the things that we're doing. So as for me, Camper's Choice, obviously sponsored by Wicked Turtle. It's also a thing that I do. So you can check that out on the Wicked Turtle Network. Camp Leapfrog, IWTV, just to reiterate all of that. And then me at Real Kilowatt on all social media. And guess what? I'm also on IWEP Network's podcasts periodically. And then I am also on the PA Pile Driver. Is it a network? I don't know. But I'm also
they have more than one show.
Yeah, so I'm on there through the PPW Unplugged podcast, which also, like the Moran and Friends, debuts this coming week. Not sure exactly when, but that's actually a really fun podcast for anybody that was a fan of PPW.
I might have gotten it sent to me. I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah. Please let me know what you think. I didn't know what it was going to be like going into it, and I absolutely loved it. Like I've never fancied myself like a sports person, but like I was able to talk about sports a little bit. I mean, it's wrestling.
Look at you.
I know.
Accomplishment. Speaking of sports, I did forget to plug the Sweatshop podcast.
Oh yes, please.
Something I forgot.
I love that.
Yeah, that's I
want to come talk sports to you guys one day.
Hey, doors open.
I love it.
Doors open.
Yeah. Tony,
that's the only topic on my network I don't do anymore, and it's like I want to talk sports so bad. Yeah. I talk sports, and Andy Hedder's like, "Can you shut up? I hate this."
Yeah.
I very much love the Sweatshop. I was listening to it yesterday or last night. Your most recent episode where you guys break down. Well, I guess you guys are going to do a viewing of Love Frog.
Yeah, I think we're going to watch. We're going to do a watch along of the main event. I believe is what he wants to do.
Masterpiece.
Yeah. So good.
So I very much enjoyed this. Would you guys be down to making this kind
anytime
of like a regular thing?
Anytime.
I'm always here to find me.
All right. Cool.
Anytime you need me, you got me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you need me, call me. All right. I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans.
So, guys, once again, thank you guys so much to all of you who are watching or will be watching in perpetuity. Thank you. And
we love you.
We do. Yeah. We love you. Spread love, spread positivity, and be well.